I want you to consider for a moment the posture you are in right now. You are lying down, the day is behind you, the body is releasing the particular tension that the waking hours produce, and the mind, which has been occupied since the first moment of this morning with the business of the conscious day, is beginning slowly to release its grip. Most men spend this moment in exactly the mental state they occupied at noon. The same thoughts, the same anxieties turning over in the same circles, the same quiet inventory of what went wrong and what remains unfinished and what the morning will bring. Not because they chose these thoughts, because nothing was put in their place. The subconscious mind does not sleep. It is working right now on whatever thought is most present in your mind as consciousness recedes. If that thought is the same thought it was at noon, the unresolved difficulty, the familiar anxiety, the comfortable resignation, the subconscious will spend the next 8 hours working on exactly that, building the physical equivalent of that thought through the hours of deepest night with the faithfulness of a servant who has never been told to do otherwise. In the next 50 minutes, that thought is going to change. Not by force, not by struggle, by the deliberate delivery of 5 principles into the most fertile ground the human mind possesses. The border between waking and sleep, where the guard is down and the subconscious is most completely open. By the time this teaching concludes and sleep takes you fully, your subconscious mind will have received a new instruction. The mind that wakes tomorrow will not be identical to the mind that went to sleep tonight. Let us begin. Part 1. The garden that never closes. The subconscious mind works continuously while you are awake and while you sleep. It does not retire with the conscious mind when the day ends. It does not pause between the last thought of the evening and the first thought of the morning. Want this to actually work? Download the free sheet in the description first. It's how you put these teachings into practice. It processes, deepens, and acts upon whatever it has been given, whether that giving was deliberate or accidental, chosen, or merely permitted. This is a fact of such importance that I want you to receive it fully before anything else is said. The subconscious mind works continuously, day and night, through a method of procedure unknown to the conscious man. It draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence for the power with which it transmutes whatever thought it has been given into its physical equivalent, making use always of the most practical means by which that end may be accomplished. It does not rest. It does not hesitate. It does not weigh the worthiness of the instruction. It executes. The conscious mind during the waking hours serves as a sentinel. It stands at the gate of the subconscious and examines every thought that seeks to pass through, accepting some, rejecting others, applying the accumulated judgments of habit and experience, and the particular skepticism of a mind that has been disappointed before. This is the faculty that asks whether the thing desired is realistic. The faculty that says, but can I really, and what about the obstacles, and I have tried this before, useful in many hours. Essential perhaps in the hours of active planning and decision. But as sleep approaches, as the conscious mind begins inevitably to release the grip it has held through the day, the sentinel grows drowsy, its vigilance relaxes, and what enters the subconscious in the minutes and hours of this threshold is not filtered through the machinery of habitual doubt. It passes through at full depth with a force of impression that no thought delivered in the fully guarded hours of the waking day can match. The subconscious mind, at its most receptive, resembles a fertile garden. A garden grows with equal faithfulness whatever seed is placed in it. Not the seed it would have chosen, not the seed most worthy of cultivation, but whatever seed was given. The man who tends his garden with deliberate and daily care decides what grows. The man who does not tend it discovers what nature places there, and what nature places in an unattended garden without invitation, without effort, is the weed, the poverty thought, the thought of limitation, the quiet, persistent certainty that the things desired belong to other people, and that the gap between where a man is and where he intended to be is simply the true and settled description of his life. These weeds did not arrive by any fault of faster self-character. They arrived because the garden was left unattended. Because in the most receptive hours, the hours of this threshold, night after night, the man permitted the day's residue to remain in his mind, and the subconscious received it as an instruction and worked all night on its fulfillment. I want to give you an illustration of this principle drawn not from the world of commerce, but from a physician's office, because it demonstrates the precision with which the subconscious translates its instruction into physical reality, and the equal precision with which a new instruction can displace the old one. There was a woman who had developed over a period of time a physical condition that had no organic cause. The condition was real, apparent to examination, apparent to the physician's hand. It had been created by the subconscious, acting faithfully upon an instruction the woman had never deliberately given, the persistent imagination of a condition she had witnessed in someone close to her. The subconscious, receiving that imagined impression in the twilight hours, night after night, had translated it into its physical equivalent, with the faithful efficiency of the garden growing whatever seed is placed in it. The same principle that created the condition removed it not through surgery, through a new instruction delivered in the state of receptivity the sleeping mind creates, received by the subconscious as a command, and acted upon with the same faithfulness with which the previous instruction had been executed. The physical condition vanished, not gradually, completely, because the instruction had changed. I tell you this story not to claim that the mind can cure every ill. I tell it because it is the most precise illustration available of the principle I want you to understand before the next 4 parts of this teaching are given. The subconscious acts upon the thought it receives in this state, upon the thought it has been given with the most frequency and the most emotional force in the hours of deepest receptivity. And it acts with a faithfulness and a power that the conscious mind, observing only the external result without understanding the internal mechanism, calls remarkable. It is not remarkable. It is the law. And in the next 50 minutes less now, as the body settles and the day recedes, the instruction being given to that law is changing. Let the body continue to release its tension. Let the mind continue its movement toward the threshold. The deeper you go, the deeper the instruction penetrates. This is not an effort. It is a surrender to the principle. It is a surrender to the principle, to the practice, to the subconscious that is already working and is waiting in this most receptive of its states for better instructions than it has been given. Part 2. The law of the dominant thought. What has been in your mind without permission? There is a law I have documented in 50 years of research into the causes of success and failure. A law so consistent in its operation, so observable in every life I have examined, that I cannot account for the near universal ignorance of it, except by the fact that it is not comfortable to state plainly. The law is this: poverty consciousness will voluntarily seize the mind that is not occupied with the money consciousness. Not occasionally, not in the lives of weak or unfortunate men. In every life where the money consciousness has not been deliberately and consistently constructed, the poverty thought does not wait to be invited. It does not require effort or deliberate cultivation. It enters the unguarded mind the way water enters an unattended vessel, filling every available space, finding every crack, settling into every hollow that the deliberate thought has left unoccupied. Most men have been giving the poverty instruction for years, not because they chose it, but because they did not know it was possible to choose otherwise. Every morning they woke with the thought of what they lacked. Every night they lay down with the thought of what they failed to accomplish. The subconscious, which makes no distinction between the thought a man chose and the thought he merely permitted, received these accidental instructions with perfect faithfulness and has been producing their physical equivalent with a diligence that, if applied to the right instruction, would have built a fortune years ago. The brain is a magnet. This is not a metaphor. The brain becomes magnetized with the dominating thoughts it holds, and those magnets attract from the force And those magnets attract from the forces and persons and circumstances of the surrounding world whatever harmonizes with their nature. The man whose dominant thought is the thought of poverty does not merely feel poor. He draws toward himself, through the operation of this law, the circumstances that harmonize with poverty. He arranges his days around the evidence of limitation without knowing he is arranging them. He passes the opportunity without seeing it. He repels without any conscious intention the people and the resources that could change his condition, because the magnetic field he is broadcasting does not harmonize with theirs. The money consciousness, the state in which the mind has been so thoroughly saturated with the expectation of wealth that wealth becomes the dominant thought, is a different magnetic field entirely. It draws toward itself from the same world that gave the other man his poverty, the circumstances that harmonize with wealth, not by magic, by the operation of the same law. The law makes no distinction between the man who uses it deliberately and the man who submits to it accidentally. It delivers to both men the physical equivalent of their dominant thought with equal faithfulness, without partiality and without mercy. There is one critical difference between the poverty consciousness and the money consciousness. One difference that I want you to receive fully. As the body continues to settle and the mind continues its movement toward the threshold, the poverty consciousness develops without effort, without conscious application, without any deliberate intention on the part of the man who possesses it. It grows of itself, watered by every unguarded thought of limitation, deepened by every night spent in the frontier between waking and sleep, without a deliberate instruction to occupy it. The money consciousness must be created to order. It does not arrive uninvited. It does not grow from the natural soil of an unattended mind. It must be built specifically daily emotionally, through the deliberate practice of planting the right thought in the right ground at the right moment. The right ground is the subconscious. The right moment is this one. Let me tell you about a man who understood this principle in its fullest application and built through the consistent daily application one of the largest fortunes the industrial world has ever produced. He came to America from Scotland as a boy. Everything we talked about today only works if you use it. The free auto-suggestion sheet in the description gives you the exact steps. No guessing, no overwhelm. Download it now while it's fresh and start tonight. Watching is easy. Applying is what finally moves your life in the right direction. The choice is yours. He began his working life in the most humble position available to him, a bobbin boy in a cotton mill at wages that would not have impressed the most modest of laborers. He had no inheritance, no education that could be called distinguished, no connection that had not been earned by his own effort. By every measure the world applies to assess a man's prospects, he had nothing. But he had one thing that none of those measures can detect, and none of those conditions can remove. A mind that had been saturated daily through not the vague wish for wealth, the specific, emotionally charged, deeply held expectation of it. A subconscious that had been given in the most receptive hours, not the accidental thought of the laboring man, but the deliberate thought of the man who had already decided what his life would produce. Within 20 years, he was the master of the steel industry. His name was Andrew Carnegie, and he told me that the principles by which he had accomplished this were as available to the man who applied them as they had been into him, without exception, without favor, without any distinction of birth or circumstance or time. He gave me those principles. I spent 20 years verifying them in the lives of 500 successful men and 25,000 who were classified as failures. And what I found, without a single exception I can recall, was this. The man who had built wealth had in some form, deliberate or intuited, planted the man who had not built wealth had, without knowing it, allowed the poverty consciousness to occupy the ground. The money consciousness had never been given. The ground is being cleared now. Let the body continue to settle. Let the breath slow and deepen. The money consciousness is not built in a single night, but it is begun in one. And the night it is begun is the night incidental to the deliberate. That night is this one. Part 3, the 6 steps. Carnegie's formula delivered into the open mind. I'm going to give you now the 6 steps not as a list to be memorized, as an instruction to be received. Carnegie gave these steps to me. Edison examined them and placed his approval upon them. They have been verified in the lives of the men who applied them, not as theory, not as pleasant sentiment, but as the precise mechanism by which desire is transmuted into its physical and monetary equivalent. Receive each step as it comes. Let the body remain still and the mind remain open. Let the instructions settle before the next one arrives. The first step, fix in your mind the exact sum of money you desire. Not plenty, not more than you now have. A specific figure named in the mind with the same precision that a merchant names the price of his goods. In this moment, give it a number. Hold it in the mind's eye as a settled and specific fact. The subconscious cannot act with direction upon a vague instruction. It requires a precise picture. Give it 1. Now the figure is named. Let it rest there. The second step, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you. There is no such reality as something for nothing in the arrangement of this universe. The man who names his service, the specific value he will create, the specific work he will render, the specific contribution by which the money will be honestly earned, gives his subconscious the second element of a complete instruction. Not a demand, an exchange, a statement of what will be given in return for what will be received. Name the service now quietly in the mind, what you intend to give. The third step, establish the specific date by which you intend to possess the money. A desire without a date is a wish. It floats in the mind without urgency, without the quality of command that the subconscious requires to organize its energies around a definite end, into a commitment. And a commitment delivered to conscious in this state of deep receptivity carries the urgency that the subconscious brings to bear upon its work. Name the date, month, year. Let it be specific. Let it be real. The fourth step, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. Begin it at once, whether you are ready. The plan need not be perfect. It will not be perfect. The subconscious, working through the hours of sleep that follows instruction, will improve it through the flash of the idea that arrives fully formed in the waking hour, insight that appears from a direction the conscious mind was not watching, through the arrangement of circumstances that only the subconscious can produce when it has been given a clear instruction to work toward. But it requires something to work with. Give it the plan you have, however perfect. The beginning of the plan is the instruction. Trust the sleep that follows to carry it forward. What is the beginning of the plan? Hold it now in the quiet of this moment. Give it to the subconscious. It is received. The fifth step. Write out the complete statement of your desire, the amount, the date, the service, the plan, and the faith, and place it where you will see it in the morning window and the evening window. Read it aloud in both windows every day until it has been so thoroughly absorbed by the subconscious that it no longer requires. The statement is not a reminder to the conscious mind. It is an instruction to the subconscious, delivered through the channel of the heard word, your own voice speaking to the deepest part of you. In the 2 moments of every day when the subconscious is most open to receive it, the statement will be written tomorrow. Tonight it has been given in another form, delivered into the subconscious at its most receptive hour through the principle I am describing. Both forms are the same instruction, working by the same principle, deepening the same groove. Tomorrow the paper will confirm what the subconscious has already received tonight. The sixth step. As you carry out these instructions, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money you desire. This is the subconscious fiber of every element that carries every other element to the depth required. Plain words do not reach the subconscious. Emotionalized words do. The feeling of already possession, the specific, genuine, imagined sensation of having arrived, is the electrical charge that drives the instruction through the remaining guard of the conscious mind and into the fertile stillness that has gathered around you as this teaching has proceeded. Hold the picture, not as an exercise, as a genuine act of the imagination, given the full weight of your conviction that what has been named is already decided, already real in the place where all things are first real before they become real in the world. See yourself in possession. Feel it. Let it be for this moment more present than anything else in the mind. The subconscious is receiving it now. That follows these steps, the story of a man who applied them all 6 and held them through 5 years of silence and received the result they were always intended to produce. He arrived at a great inventor's establishment with nothing but the instruction he had planted in his own subconscious. No credential, no letter of introduction, no visible resource of any kind. He was given a bowl to sweep the floors. For 5 years he swept the floors. He did other work as it was given to him. To every observer in that establishment, he was simply a worker among workers, unremarkable, undistinguished, without any obvious claim to the position he had announced on his first day was already his. But in his own mind, every night in the window before sleep, the partnership was already real. He did not carry it as a hope. He carried it as a settled fact about himself, delivered nightly to the subconscious, with the full weight of a conviction that had not wavered through 5 years of apparent silence. The opportunity came, not in the form he had expected, from a direction he had not been watching, but the subconscious, which had been given its instruction with sufficiency for 5 years, recognized it immediately and moved to claim it. The partnership he had announced on the day of his arrival became one morning business reality. His name was Edwin C. Barnes. His partner was Thomas Edison. The 6 steps worked. They always work for the man who applies them with faith in the most receptive state of the mind over a sufficient period of consistent repetition. They are working now. Part 4. The poverty thought cannot stay where faith is. The poverty consciousness does not announce itself. Everything we talked about today only works if you use it. The free autosuggestion sheet in the description gives you the exact steps. No guessing, no overwhelm. Download it now while it's fresh and start tonight. Watching is easy. Applying is what finally moves your life in the right direction. The choice is yours. It does not arrive with a declaration or a warning. It settles the way all habits settle gradually through repetition, through the unguarded admission of small thoughts that individually meant nothing and in accumulation meant everything. It is present now in some form in nearly every mind that has not deliberately and consistently displaced it. Not as dramatic despair, as the quiet certainty that the thing desired is for other people, and as for a man of this background and these resources, as the comfortable resignation that calls itself honesty. Positive and negative cannot occupy the same mind at the same moment. This is not a philosophical statement. It is the architecture of the mind. Whatever thought has the greatest emotional force in the most receptive state will dominate. And there is no more receptive state than the one you are in now. The poverty thought, which has been the dominant tenet of this quiet hour for too long, is being displaced tonight. Not by argument. Faculty is too drowsy for argument. By replacement. The specific, deliberately chosen instruction of a different dominant thought, delivered with a force in the hour when the subconscious is most fully open until the new groove is deeper than the old. I want to tell you about a man whose mind was changed not gradually, not through years of patient practice, but in a single night, and whose condition in the weeks that followed demonstrated more vividly than any theoretical account could manage what happens when the poverty thought is removed from the dominant position and the faith thought takes its place. He had been governed by the fear entity, poverty entity, the entity that counsels limitation and caution, and the endless deferral of the decisive act for more than a year. He had experienced it as the paralysis of the reasoning faculty, as the specific kind of grouchy indifference that settles over a man who has stopped expecting anything worth the effort of expecting. Then, on a night of clear sky and full moon, standing on a hill in the mountains of West Virginia, something shifted. He received through the part of the mind I have called the other self an instruction that arrived with such force and such precision that he recognized it as something qualitatively had produced. The instruction was this: 2 entities occupy your body. One is motivated by fear. The other is motivated by faith. For more than a year, you have been driven by the fear entity. The faith entity has now taken charge. Keep doubt and fear and worry and all thoughts of limitation entirely out of your mind. Your other self knows no limitations. It has no fears. It recognizes no such word as impossible. That man was myself. And when I looked in the mirror the following morning in a hotel in Philadelphia where the instruction had directed me to go, the expression on my face had changed from one of doubt to one of courage. Not because the circumstances had improved, because the instruction had changed. Because the poverty thought had been removed from the dominant position in the most receptive hour of the day, and the faith thought had taken its place with a completeness and a force that left no available ground for the poverty thought that followed, without any external circumstance having been ordered. The resources and the people and the plan I began to appear. Not by magic, but by the operation of the same law I have been described throughout this teaching. The magnet had been changed. The field being broadcast had changed, and the world which had not changed began to deliver what harmonized with the field rather than the old one. In this moment, as it continues its settling, as the mind continues its movement toward the threshold, receive the instruction that the other self is always ready to give. Your other self knows no limitations. Let those words rest in the subconscious. It has no fears. Let the poverty thought that has been present in this quiet hour, the familiar, comfortable, persistent thought of limitation, step back. It recognizes no such word as impossible. This is the ground being cleared. The instruction being planted in its place is the one that has been building through the 5 principles of this teaching. The specific amount, the specific date, the service, the plan, the faith. The subconscious has received them. It is working on them now. And the poverty thought, which required your inattention to sustain itself, is losing its hold in the ground that has been occupied by something more deliberate and more precisely charged. Let it go. The faith thought is the dominant one now. The subconscious will work on let it come. Part 5. The morning already being built. The subconscious is working now. It does not need your conscious attention in order to work. It does not need your supervision. The instructions have been given. The 6 steps have been delivered into the most fertile ground you possess at the most receptive hour of your day. The dominant thought has been changed from the poverty instruction that was there before to the specific emotionally charged, precisely defined instruction of the wealth you have decided to have. The subconscious is working on it now through the hours of sleep that follow, through the deep, uninterrupted hours when the conscious mind is most fully at rest and the subconscious is most completely unhindered. It will do what it always does when it has been given a clear instruction. It will search through the vast and invisible network of knowledge and resource and connection that the conscious mind cannot directly access for the fulfilled. Through paths the conscious mind was not watching, through people the conscious mind had not considered, through arrangements of circumstance that only a mind working without the limitations of the conscious faculty's skepticism could produce. By morning, it will not report to you in words. It will report in the quality of the first waking thought, in the direction of the first impulse, in the quiet, unperformative certainty of a man whose subconscious has spent the night building something, who wakes perhaps without knowing why, slightly more oriented toward the thing he has decided to have than he was when he lay down. This is not dramatic. It does not arrive with a sense of transformation that a man can easily name. It arrives subtly as a shift in the quality of the first morning thought, as the beginning of what I have called the money consciousness. The state in which the expectation of wealth is more natural than conscious has been given the instruction of wealth more consistently than the instruction of poverty. One night of this instruction will begin the work. 30 nights will establish the groove. And nature, by the law I have called hypnotic rhythm, which works with equal faithfulness for every man who gives it consistent instruction, will take that groove and seal it, so that the man who once needed to deliver the instruction deliberately will find, after long enough, that the instruction delivers itself, that the subconscious returns to it without prompting, that the money consciousness has become, through the consistent deepening of the groove, the dominant reality of the mind. Not an aspiration, but the settled automatic operating condition of the subconscious that was always available and needed only the consistent, emotionally charged, deliberately chosen instruction to claim it. Fortunes gravitate to men whose minds have been prepared to attract them just in this state, by the instruction that has been delivered into the most fertile ground you possess at the moment it was most fully open. The amount is fixed. The date is named. The service is defined. The plan has been begun. The faith is present not as a wish, but as the quiet conviction of a mind that has decided. The subconscious has received this instruction. It is working on it now through every hour of sleep that follows. It will work without rest, without doubt, without the questioning of the conscious mind that has been the obstacle between the instruction and the result for too long. In the morning, something will be different. Not everything. Something. The direction of the first thought. The quality of the first impulse. The beginning, quiet, undramatic, entirely real, of the consciousness that draws wealth toward itself as naturally as the ocean draws the rain. Sleep now. The subconscious does not need you awake to do its work. The instruction has been given. The garden that never closes has received its seed. Everything we talked about today only works if you use the free auto-suggestion sheet in the description gives you the exact steps. No guessing, no overwhelm. Download while it's fresh and start tonight. Watching is easy. Applying is what finally moves your life in the right direction. The choice is yours. Sleep. The morning is already being built. Habit repetition. Not from a single night, not from a single instruction delivered once in the most receptive hour and then abandoned. From repetition. The same thought in the same state, in the same window, night after night, until the cuts is deeper than any groove that came before it. Tonight a groove was begun. It is shallow yet. The needle does not yet follow it with guidance. But it is there, cut into the subconscious by the 5 principles that have been delivered into the most fertile ground you possess at the most fully open. Tomorrow night, bring the same instruction back to this window. Not word for word, in whatever form is natural. The statement read aloud before the eyes close. The amount held in the mind as a specific and settled fact. The feeling of already possession allowed to be more real for a few minutes than any other thought in the mind. The groove will be deeper by the second night, deeper by the third, deeper by the 10th, and by the 30th night, by the law that governs every habit of thought that has ever been built in a human mind, the groove will be deep enough that the needle follows it without the deliberate guidance that tonight required. The subconscious will return to the instruction on its own, not because it is being reminded, because the instruction has become the dominant groove, the path of least resistance. And the mind, like the needle, follows the deepest path available. This is how the money consciousness is built. Not in a single night, in 30 nights, in 100 charged delivery of the same specific instruction into the same open ground until the ground is no prepared to receive it, but organized around it, magnetized by it, drawing toward it from the surrounding world whatever harmonizes with the wealth it has been instructed to expect. The groove that tonight began will not be broken by one missed night, but it will be deepened by tomorrow night and the night after. And every night the instruction is returned to this window. Return tomorrow, sleep now. The subconscious is at work. Grab the free auto-suggestion sheet in the description. It's based on exactly what we're covering here. Actually apply what you've learned here. Don't just listen. So pause this, get the sheet now, and watch your life finally